Welcome everyone to this, for me, very special session. I'm a bit excited actually. I think I need to get this off my chest right at the beginning so that I'm not carrying it around with me the whole time, but I'm a massive fan of Giten and his work. When I started Breathwork, your book was one of the first ones I've read, and I'm like a huge fan. I'm just like super excited that I've got the opportunity to host you here tonight. So first of all, welcome to the Inspiration Festival, Giten. It's amazing and a pleasure to have you here. How are you doing?
Thank you so much for having me. I'm pretty good. Evening in Northern California.
Okay, amazing.
Thank you.
I know you said earlier that you've got a session prepared. So do we have a bit of time to chat first, or do you want to?
Yes, let's chat first. Feel free to ask anything you like. I'm happy to share about the work, and whatever little bit of time left, we can have a little bit of experiential exploration.
That sounds good for me. If anyone, I just want to put it out right at the beginning, if anyone has any questions to Giten and wants to get them answered, put them in the chat and we might have a chance to come back to that as well. But before I start, and I've got a couple of questions, but before we start that, I would just like to give you an opportunity to introduce yourself in case someone isn't like that big a fan as I am and might not know what you're doing. Can you just talk a little bit about who you are, what you're doing?
Sure, absolutely. So my name is Giten Tonkov. I am the creator of BioDynamic Breathwork and Trauma Release System. And I have been developing this modality for the past, I would say about 17 years. And it's a popular modality around the world. And it's quite known in many countries. It uses breath, movement, touch, sound, emotional expression, and meditation to support people to let go of the adverse effects of trauma that they're stored in their physical body. And that's trauma from developmental trauma through the childhood, as well as traumatic stress, and as recent as that could happen just days ago. So any of these effects of traumatic experience that are energies released into the body but not expressed, they're stored in the form of tension. So with biodynamic breath work and the movement and touch and expression, we're able to let go of these layers upon layers of all tension that's stored in our physical body. So this is my work. This is my life's work. I've been lucky enough that it come through me, and I'm lucky enough to share it around the world.
Thank you for that introduction. Would you actually care telling us a little bit about how it came to you, and like how did you come to this whole concept and the different elements, and maybe even if you want to start a bit earlier in regards to how your personal journey was and how breathwork found you, and I think lots of people are really interested in that too.
All right, sure, absolutely. I became a massage therapist very early in life. I think I was like 21, 22 years old. And I was working as a massage therapist in New York City. And before that, I went to college for a physical therapy. And so my specialty was to work with sports injury and sports trauma rehabilitation. So before, the approach was just pretty much hands-on body work, and not that much attention was paid to breath. And I started it in I think it's 94. I became a therapist, and so for quite a few years I've been working with pretty much hands-on in this field. But my very first experience with breath was in starting to practice yoga with pranayama. But that was a very well controlled way of breathing. So, of course, it gave beautiful results, but not until I started to practice conscious connected breathing. And my first experience was in India at the Osho meditation resort in the late 90s. And that actually changed the whole understanding of what the power of breath is. So the very first breath session I had there totally blew the lid off the top of my head. I had no idea that this could happen from just breathing. So it felt like years and years of emotions that I've held back that I didn't even know that I did just came up to the surface. And that from that moment on, I knew that this is something that I want to work with. So I started to take whatever courses I could find, the trainings, and then I worked with a few teachers over the course of years, like about 7, 8 years, assisting them, studying the breath work. And then back in those days, the breath work was very cathartic. So it was just breathing, breathing, and screaming and expressing a lot of encounter work. But later, as I started to get deeper into the work and I started to study the effects of trauma and how to work with trauma, I got to realize that this catharsis is at times doing a lot more damage than it's doing good. Even for people that have a very resilient nervous system, that was not so terrible. But for many who are traumatized, excuse me, for many who are traumatized and holding the charge in the body and have not really dealt with the adverse effects of past traumatic experiences, that could actually be too much. It could be too activating and actually brings them back into the trauma vortex, which we want to avoid. So I started to develop the biodynamic breath work, which actually is based on this trauma-informed approach. So we look at how the tension is stored in the physical body, and we approach it in a very soft way with caution, with a lot of pendulation through a lot of the use of the felt sense, which is one of the main supportive concepts that we use in biodynamic breathwork, is working with our felt sensations while in the session. So the biodynamic breathwork is an embodied modality. It supports people to actually come back to feel their physicality. Unlike other breathwork technique that exploits, a lot of the times exploits alternate states of consciousness, we're actually bringing ourselves down to the body level. So we again can feel, we again can experience, we again can come out of freezing or support our bodies to complete that interrupted fight or flight that's stuck in our system. So over the years, I experimented, worked with these various tools that actually I found super complementary. And I named them before when we first started working with breath. Breath is the primary tool. Then bringing in movement, because breath contains movement within itself. Or once we're breathing, this movement happens in our physical body. So we are expanding on that movement. The next element I brought in is the element of touch, which is body work. And right now that our trainings run both in person and online, so we included self body work on top of it. So there is self body work, there's hands-on body work to support the opening as the session goes on, to support the unblocking of the tissues. There's a lot of work with fascia, with the connective tissues to support the flow of energy, to support the transmission of nerve impulses throughout the body. And of course, working with sound, with our own voice as an expression, as well as working with external sound in form of gongs, instruments of the various sorts to to bring in the vibration of sound to support that opening process, as well as expression. Using our voice, it's extremely beneficial. The most powerful musical instrument we have is our own voice. It's coming from the inside. So that's an added dimension that supports expression and opening. And then bringing in because of all these previous elements, it supports um, the opening of the emotional body. So that once the tension begins to release in the body, we open up the emotional charge that was locked in that tension. So working with conscious emotional expression, not to just go into catharsis, but to work what's in trauma work with called titration. So releasing little by little, so we're not overwhelmed by what we're feeling. And of course, summarizing it all together in meditation. So we're actually clearing our body, creating space for the meditation to arise, for natural silence to arise. So this is over the years, this developed into this modality after so much experimenting, how these elements work together, what are the effects of each one, and how they support each other in the group, in the individual process, and the series of sessions, how they work. And of course, this is all based on body-oriented psychology and the teaching of Wilhelm Reich, who has actually was the founder of body-oriented psychology, to the first person that brought physicality, our body, into working with the mind. So he's the first one that actually pointed out that the body and the mind are not different. It's a body mind. It's one mechanism, one integral flow that happens between both. So whatever happens in the mind affects the body, and vice versa. So this is the approach that we take. It's very scientific, it's grounded, it as well as brings the flowering of your meditation and the spiritual growth, but it's rooted in the body. It's an embodiment process. So it's been a long process, and as long as I'm around, I'm still gonna create different variations of it, and because it makes me excited and engaged. If it was all done and finished, I would get bored. I love to teach. I love to work with people around the world, and this keeps me interested to keep developing it.
Thank you for sharing that. And I totally get that in regards to wanting to continue to develop something and not just stay with like the process and keep teaching like the same thing. There are a couple of things that I was thinking about while you were, or that came to my mind where you were talking about like how the modalities you use help people to also not go into catharsis, but come back to their body and really go step by step, not like emotionally overwhelming. And I feel like that's a really important point, especially if we're looking at the world today. There's like so much that needs to be worked on, and then I personally feel it quite quickly can get emotionally overwhelming. And then if I speak to people, I sometimes feel like, how good is the connection to our bodies and our emotions? And I feel like what you're saying is actually, that's a really good approach to get people back into their bodies, back to their emotions. But I'm also wondering how you look at it for people who might not have much experience with that yet, and who might come new to your work or to a session with you, or who know there might be some trauma in my past, or there happened something that I need to work on. But that I feel like that can often be really challenging and really scary if you invite people, like even saying we're doing it bit by bit and not like overwhelming you, but even introducing people back into their bodies, into their emotions, can be really scary. What are your experiences with that, and how do you manage that people don't run away before it actually gets juicy and helpful.
Yeah, for sure. There's a lot of people that come to our courses that just beginning on their path. And this is something that they seek out because they've heard something about it or this is interesting to them. And of course, many people, before they actually do a session, they have no idea what's stuck in their bodies. Or maybe they have experienced the session from somebody or in a group session, and they realize, aha, there's much more that I can discover by doing this work. So when people like this come, that's why we work a lot with what I mentioned already, titration. We go little by little, and we work with pendulation, which is another technique from working with trauma, moving between activation and the place of resource and safety. And this actually creates the space for people to feel safe in their physical body to go deeper without feeling overwhelmed. And of course, we include a lot of supporting techniques. Movement is one of our techniques of biodynamic breathwork, is one of the pillars of biodynamic breathwork. So we work a lot with dance. There is a certain types of movement that I bring. I bring a lot of contact dance into it. I bring a lot of touch. So this creates a certain energy in the group that people are going together on this certain experience. So the group becomes a container, whether it's an online group or it's an in-person group. The group itself supports people that feel like they may be encountering fear, or there's something that's coming up that they didn't even know that was stored in their body. So these are the ways to keep people present, to keep people engaged, to keep people wanting more, and actually have a successful session, successful training, successful course. So people actually, by the end of the course, even if they were encountering fear in the beginning, even in the middle, it comes in waves, and because we open up various layers in the body. So by the end of the course, everyone feels like, wow, my life is different. My body feels different. I've accessed so much that I had no idea was even there. It's been hidden. Now I can see it clearly that it was blocking me from living my life the way that I wanted. It was taking away my bioenergy because it's locked up in the tension, in the physical tension. Now I have that energy available for other things, for dancing, for hiking, for running, for making love, for whatever. So this is a very soft, at the same time powerful approach that works extremely quickly. So over the course, even of one session, even in one individual session, and a person can have a huge transformation. But if we're talking about um, a longer course, anywhere between 3 and 7 days, usually our in-person trainings are 7 days long, and then online trainings are about 5 months long. So this is how we support people to transcend their fear and to drop deeper and have this kind of opening in a safe environment. Safety is number one criteria that we feel that needs to be met in myself and all of our facilitators that work with me and leading the trainings as well.
Yeah, I can totally feel that. Thank you for sharing that and giving an insight in that. There are a couple of ways or a couple of directions I want to go, and I've seen Iransu's message in the chat, and I do want to pick that up in a moment. But before I go into that, I would love, because I've got a question which goes in the same direction, actually, or in a similar direction. Like obviously the last 2.5 years have been probably quite challenging for lots of people if we look at the global situation. So there there are two things I would love to talk to. First of all, I would love to hear your view on, and we don't need to get political too much. I know that's like a dangerous area, but I would love to hear your view on COVID and the pandemic in regards to trauma and what that might also have invited us to, and what your work, how your work has changed, but also how your work is maybe even more needed. Yeah, let's start with that, and I follow up with a question later.
I clearly see that the COVID and the global pandemic brought a huge transformation, not only to my work, but to every holistic modality across the world. We had no other choice but to take our work online. And this, I think, is actually contributed to growth of the global community and people, and how people actually are able to connect even in the virtual environment. And when I first took my work online, simply because of COVID, I had no intention to lead an online training. But when all of a sudden all the trainings that we had around the world shut down, I felt that, yeah, the next step is to take the work online. For biodynamic breathwork to survive, we need to adapt to the environment that we have. This is kind of evolution. You adapt or you perish. So, uh, and that actually, before I did that, I experimented a lot. I started with giving individual sessions, and I found that it worked just as well in the virtual environment as it worked in the in-person environment. Simply because the use of these techniques as felt sense and pendulation and titration, the people that were in the sessions, they were actually being in charge of feeling their own bodies. They put their own hands on them. It felt a lot more safer that someone else putting their hands on their body. So this created, first of all, a lot of safety and trust. This also created a possibility for a global connection. So we had trainings where we had 80 people together for 7 months, going through a process, meeting every other week, having body pods coming together. So for 7 months, we have a group of people that are going through this self-development and learning experience. This was not possible before COVID. So that is a good thing that came out of it. But what the dark side, the adverse effect, was so much isolation. We're not meant to be separate. We're not meant to live our life in front of the computer without feeling touch. So bringing people together in this environment where they could connect to their body, they can touch their body, they can be witnessed in that. They can support others and learn how to support others in guiding them and guiding themselves through touch, through breath, through movement. That actually supported people to not go insane, because isolation can actually lead you to go completely mad. And that, I found that it was a beautiful experience. And now that we're coming out of the pandemic, um, and we are already for the past year have been doing in-person workshops, and we've been lucky not to get COVID cases. On a couple of occasions it happened, but in general it was totally fine. So people were so much more eager again to come back into groups. And I have to say that the energy in the group definitely shifted after people came out of this isolation. And in many cases, people were at home for over a month without able to meet anybody or hug, and many cases it's even longer than that. all around the world. So this was a beautiful experience to see how uh, we're able to keep the work, how we're able to expand the community of people that want to work with themselves and learn, and at the same time, after it, support people to let go of the trauma of isolation, because isolation can be traumatic. And it's been all of the things. It's been challenging, it's been incredible, it's been beautiful, it's been hard. It's so many things.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. And I totally feel that too, like exactly what you said, that there are like two sides, or even more sides to one topic. And thank you for looking at it like from different lenses. And it's really interesting to see also what you said, how you like evolved with the challenges that came up within the business and were abroad, and how it actually helped. Because one of the things that you said at the beginning about like how important it is to feel safe for people to be able to go into this work. And that I was actually wondering, because this topic sometimes comes up around online sessions, doesn't it? Like, how can we make sure people are safe if no one's there to hold space for them in person? And how can we make sure that that they are not just going off in cathartic situations, and we can't hold them back? So it's interesting to hear your perspective and see that actually there is also the opportunity for people to create the safety again within themselves, and use their own touch, for example.
Absolutely, and that's why biodynamic breathwork is such a modality that works in the virtual environment as well as in in-person environment, because it does create the sense of safety. We don't go into too much activation where we feel overwhelmed. And if somebody's by themselves at home and they feel overwhelmed, then nothing we can do to bring them back if they are slipping into this trauma vortex. So it's really, we developed a protocol to work online, and we are teaching it in our training to avoid the situation, to bring people into an unsafe space. And this is important, like I said, and you notice that safety is a number one criteria that needs to be in place for any process to happen.
Yeah, yeah, thank you for that. So the other top, like there are lots of big topics obviously happening at the moment, but the other thing, when I was preparing our interview, that I wanted to look into is the work you've done in the last couple of months with a view on the war in Russia and Ukraine, because obviously that's like, especially for, I guess, for the war about Europe, that was a massive thing happening beginning of this year, and obviously in the Ukraine, that's a horrible thing. And I know you've done with some of your colleagues some amazing work. I think you did it in Poland, didn't you?
Yeah.
Workshops. So I was wondering if you would be willing to share a bit about what you've done there, what you've experienced there. And then also, I'm just going to pick up the question from the chat and just read it, and maybe you can just integrate that. So Irantu messaged and said, I've been working on human rights related issues in conflict affected countries in Asia, Africa, Latin America for the past 15 years, doing a lot of interviews, not as a therapist though, to severely traumatized people. Based on his lifelong experience, also with Ukrainian refugees, I was wondering if you could share a bit about working with people with war-related traumas, including rape. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. This is a beautiful question and it touches me deeply. I am originally from Ukraine. I was born and grew up in Odessa, Ukraine, and I lived there until I was 18 years old. And when this war happened, it really shocked me. And at the time, I was in Mexico, and just maybe 3, 4 days after the start of the war, we started a training in Mexico. And this actually led me to start this initiative on working with refugees. I saw how many millions of people were fleeing the war. And I knew that I had to do something. I couldn't just sit and behind sit on my ass and see how what this is happening. So um, we- from Mexico, I went directly to Poland because most of the refugees were coming through Polish-Ukrainian border, and we set up a hub in Warsaw to work with refugees. And we developed a special program for the refugees for to deal with the war trauma, because the stories that we heard, and people were driving in their car with bombs going off between them. There were rape victims that were coming. So there was needed to be a special approach because this was a very acute trauma. This, in some instances, it's been days or weeks after the initial trauma. So we had to approach that in a very careful, cautious way. At the same time, uh, we know from working with people that not every person that has been in this kind of situation is traumatized. Even though they have experienced a severe event, it does not automatically mean that they are in trauma state. Yeah, trauma state is very particular. So there were people coming that were actually felt like they were in a trauma state, and there were others that were, they were pretty badly shaken up, but they were still fully functional, and so we created a system where we worked with people with the soft breath and movement and embodying and interaction, and also very beautiful way of creative storytelling, which gave people a possibility to express themselves and be heard, and not to go again to reactivate themselves into a trauma space simply by telling a story or recollecting the events. So uh, I worked with my team very hard. We taught a lot of classes. We taught a class every couple of days in Warsaw for several months, and we started a campaign, a crowdfunding campaign, because we first funded it on our own money with myself and Nisarga, who is another teacher that works with me. So he's Polish, so we started a hub on our own with our own funds. And but to keep the hub going, we needed more funds, so we started a crowdfunding campaign. We raised close to $70,000 to have the hub open and support people and pay the facilitators that are constantly kept donating their time. And we had so many volunteers that came to support. So this is an amazing project, and it's still going. And now we're shifting into from working with refugees. We still continue to keep the hub open in Warsaw, but now we are going again into another crowdfunding campaign where we want to actually teach the Ukrainian facilitators to take the work in Ukraine. So we already accepted a few of the Ukrainians in our groups in Poland, which is there's one happening in October, there's one happening in March. So we have a few Ukrainian therapists, people that already work with other people. So these are the steps that were taken towards, because people that are already have some kind of therapy background, and they learn these ways to work with acute trauma through embodiment. They bring it back to their home, and they reach many more people than we can simply reach by offering it to simply refugees. So there will be years and years of consequences from this war. It will be many, many years that before people feel that they let go of this. This is, it's impacted the entire society. There's about um, 10 or 12 or even more million people that were displaced from Ukraine. Some went, some left Ukraine. I think about 8 million left Ukraine, and others, another part just displaced within the country. So this is a huge trauma that impacted everyone in the region. And I was incredibly moved to see also how much the Polish people supported the refugees, just with simple uh, food and clothing and offering a place to live. Many took people to their own apartments. This was incredibly touching. So I feel blessed to be able to have these tools to support people in that way. I knew I had to do something. I'm not gonna pick up a gun and go fight in the war, but there's a way that I can contribute, and it's through supporting people that need the help to work with trauma.
Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing that. And um, I love what you just said at the end in regards to, obviously it's not, there are so many different ways how we can support, and obviously the probably best way you could support was by offering the work you're doing, the amazing work and the understanding you've got about trauma and how you can hold space. And then also I love how you say that you are now supporting therapists who then go obviously back into Ukraine and support there, so that it just spreads. It's not just staying in Warsaw, but
And
that's so amazing.
we are planning also a training in Ukraine in the next year. So there will be training. We will have Ukrainians coming to Poland for our trainings, and we will also go to Ukraine to train the therapists there on the ground.
Amazing. Thank you so much for your work. That's just incredible work, I think, that you're doing. Thank you so much. I think I would like to, I do want to take you up on your offer to explore a little bit, but before I do that, I would love to take one last shift and go back into what breathwork means to you personally, and maybe also how you use it in your life, not just as something you work with, but actually something that you maybe are still using for your own life and in your personal life. I would love to hear something about that.
Sure. I love breath work. I love the effects that I feel in my body, in my mind, like the space that I reach that are beyond the mind, no mind. So I do practice as much as I can. I practice on my own. I love to do the Osho chakra breath meditation, which is a very focused and a very timed way to go into the breath. I do a lot of movement, unwinding movement. This is actually my practice that I do the most, and it's a standing myofascial unwinding while I'm breathing. So I go into conscious connected breath. I'm moving my body. I'm kind of supporting my body to move on its own. So the movement is coming from the inside out. I'm moving slowly. So I'm present to my felt sensations. I'm present to my to sensing what my body is doing. I'm constantly tracking the felt sensation. So breath brings me back to myself. Breath makes me a better person. Breath supports me in connection to my authenticity, in connection to who I am in connection to my body, my physical body. I love to work with my physical body. I enjoy my body. I move it as much as I can. I am connected to it. I feel it. And breath actually, for me, I find is the quickest, is a tool to get to my body the quickest way. So within seconds of breathing fully, consciously, I start to feel the parts of myself that before might have been numb. So this is a way for me. So breath and movement is the combination that I use the most. And I highly recommend for those of you who don't practice breath on daily basis, conscious connected breathing or any form of breath, is to take it up. It's an amazing way to stay connected to yourself and actually explore what it means to be in the body, but also to step out from identifying with the body. Both elements are there. So to be grounded in the body and use that grounding as a platform to raise higher beyond the body, beyond the mind. So this is my breath practice that I do the most.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
I do love hearing about other people's breathwork practices, and I think we'll really appreciate it about the I can see the hearts from other people. So obviously, I'm not the only one. But what I really appreciate about our festival at the moment is that we've got the opportunity to hear so many different like practices and tools and how people use the breath, and I feel like there are so many opportunities for us at the moment to just figure out what we might want to pick up. It might be movement and breath, but I also heard other people speaking about different ways of using their breath. So I just really appreciate people sharing their breathing techniques, modalities, practices with us. So thank you again for sharing that, Giten.
My pleasure. So just let me ask, how long do we have left so I know how to...
I think we've got like 30 minutes.
30 minutes. Okay.
If that works for you. So yeah, we've got a bit of time to explore if you want to guide us
to something.
Can see a lot of people smiling, so I feel like there's interest in that.
All right, so we'll do a sitting practice. Now, what I found that works the best in the virtual environment when you work with breath is a sitting practice that I found is the most safe, because there is a connection with the between the facilitator and the participants. So let me change the view so I can see everyone. And for those of you who are on, but you don't have your cameras on, if you are able to, please put your camera on so I can see you, so it's easier for me to guide you. Otherwise, I'm talking into a black hole of the internet. All right. So, sitting up, finding a position that you are comfortable in, and take a deep, full breath. Just natural breath. Let your body inhale, but make it slightly larger. And be aware of the area in your body where your breath is flowing, where it's moving for you. And repeat that deep, full breath a few times, in and out. Inhale, exhale. Imagine that inhalation is half a circle. Exhalation is another half a circle. And you can breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth. And this way, that when you're breathing in, You're filling your lungs, like the same way you're filling a cup with water from the bottom all the way up. And when you exhale, you empty this cup from the top all the way down to the area of your diaphragm. And continue with this big, full, connected breath, about medium tempo. And when you are fully breathing, you are fully filling your whole chest cavity with breath. And you notice that your chest is rises and falls with the exhalation. So you continue with this connected, flowing breath. Another few consecutive breaths. And now, even because you breathe for a minute or so, you already become more sensitive simply because you elevate the volume of your breath. So you're able to feel your body slightly better. More sensations are coming up to the surface. So I want to scan your body. I want to ask you to scan your body from your feet all the way up to the crown of your head and look for a place of resource. We call the place of resource a place that has most comfortable, warm, feel good sensation. A place that feels spacious, open. A place that in your body where you feel that you can focus on this place and feel safe. And this place can be absolutely anywhere. It can be in your hands or your feet or your head or your heart or your belly. It could be anywhere. When you find this place, you may touch it, put your hand on it, just bring a little more awareness. Is another layer of awareness that's coming through your touch. So when you put your hands onto this place, feel into this added dimension of your own touch. Feel the warmth of your hand. Feel the texture, maybe of your clothing, or if your hand is touching your skin. Just being aware of your physicality. And now let's shift our breath right into this place of resource. And noticing as you breathe, you can this place may be rising, your chest may be rising and falling, or maybe um, your resources within your hands. So you imagine that you are filling up this place in your body with breath. It's kind of like a rubber balloon that lives in that place. So with each inhalation, this balloon expands in all directions. When you exhale, it comes back to original shape. So you stay with this visualization as you're breathing. This, this rubber ball expands and shrinks, and it continues to expand and shrink with each inhalation, with each exhalation. And it's a deep inhalation through the nose and letting go through your open mouth. So for that, you need to relax your lower jaw. So we're not forcing the out breath. We are allowing our physical body to breathe out on its own. And so deep, full breath in and out. I'm going to bring in a little bit of the music on the background to support us. Yeah, stay with this deep and full connected breath. And notice as you are breathing, Since breath is already movement, there's a movement of your diaphragm that's happening in your body. There's expansion of your chest, there's movement of all the auxiliary musculature that support your breathing. With the next breath, notice if you let go of holding your body and see if your body just begins to gently unwind with the breath. And this movement is coming simply as an expression of your deep breathing. The movement originates on your interior, in the interior of your body. And then with each out breath, there's a new wave that wants to come through you. And it may start as a very small movement that could only be felt but not even seen from the outside. But if you continue to deeply and fully breathe and actually letting go of holding, this movement may become larger and larger with each breath. It grows in its range. So we're expanding the range of movement with each breath. Breathing in, notice how your chest is rising. Breathing out, it's dropping. And again, it's rising with the in breath and again dropping with the out breath. And this creates a very soft spinal wave. So stay with this soft spinal wave and keep breathing right into it. Yeah, we're staying with the full breath. Remembering that you have this place of safety and connection within your physical body. And another key element here is your felt sense. This gives you an opportunity to stay connected to your physical body throughout your practice. So now, after you breathe for a little while already, I bet there are some physical sensations that are coming up to the surface. So be aware of what's at the surface for you already in terms of your physical sensations. And get a hold of the most prominent physical sensations that are alive for you right now. And simply follow this sensation as you're following a thread. And you're unwinding this ball of thread and you're following that thread, wanting to see what's inside that ball of thread. And you're not finding anything else but more thread. So the same thing, you're following that physical sensation and you are finding more physical sensation. It's never static. So let's stay with this deep, full, connected breathing. Now let's help ourselves a little bit with this soft spinal unwinding, spinal undulation. Let's begin to expand this range of movement. You can begin to move your spine in a very soft, wavy way. And noticing which part of your spine is actually open and relaxed and wants to move, and which part of your spine feels a little bit frozen. See if you can consciously begin to spread the movement into the areas that feel a little bit stuck or frozen. And also visualize that you bring your breath into those areas. Remember this rubber ball in your body that I mentioned that expands with the breath. Notice that this ball can move to a different part of the body. Imagine that you are expanding it, filling it with your breath. And with each exhalation, you let go again through this wave of movement. Now, if you're letting your hands come to whatever part of your body that needs your attention, bring your hands to that area. It could be your belly, it could be your back of your neck. If it's the back of your neck, squeeze a little bit. Give yourself this soft but firm body work. So we want to support our opening through our touch. Yeah, and following the felt sensations will keep you present in your physicality. It will keep you present in your body. And notice if there is another part of your body now that wants your attention. And it could be your rib cage, it could be your lower back. Again, bring your hands to that area and breathe into that area. And continue to unwind, continue to explore this movement that originates at the core of your body and wants to spread through you. It wants to go from your interior out towards the periphery, and you're just following it. Yes. And being aware now as you continue to breathe, let's shift your attention again to the place of resource that you found in the beginning of this exploration. The place of connection, the place of safety, the warmth, feel-good sensations that you found in your body. And once again, I invite you to shift your breath to that area. Notice if those sensations you discovered are still there, or maybe new sensations came up to the surface. The deeper you breathe, the more you move your body, and simply allow the movement. More of the various sensations are actually becoming active, alive for you. Yes. Every breath you take in is a yes to yourself. Every exhalation is a let go. It's allowing yourself to let go with an out breath. And if you let go, what are you letting go? What is it that wants to come out of your body? What your body wants to release? Be aware of that. And again, breathing in deeply and fully. And again, letting go with exhalation. Keep allowing this soft spinal undulating. Keep allowing this soft spinal undulating. Keep allowing this exploration of movement that comes from the inside out. And being aware if there is more volume of breath that now wants to enter you. If you created space in your body that's able to accommodate this deeper, fuller breath. And for the next minute, let's bring up the frequency of the breath just slightly. We're still breathing in the medium tempo. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Let's begin to bring our breathing to a peak. Being fully aware of your physical body, of your felt sensations that are active for you this moment. Now let's begin to gradually slow it down. Let's slow down our breath. Come back to normal breathing, but keep allowing your body to still explore soft movement that's coming out on its own. And once again, shifting your attention to the place of resource you found in the beginning, this place of connection in your physical body. Being aware of the felt sensations in this area. For the next several minutes, let's come into stillness. Just observe your body, being present, being a witness to your physicality. If any emotions come up to the surface, include them as part of your experience, but keep shifting your attention back to your body. Now, once again, give yourself an opportunity to scan your body from the bottom of your feet all the way to the top of your head. And once again, identify this sensation of warmth, pleasure, connection, space. Maybe it's expanded, maybe it's moved to a different place, maybe it's in the same place as you found it before. Just being aware. taking another full breath. And exhale with the sound, with the toning sound. And let yourself feel the vibration that comes from your own voice, radiates down your sternum, down your chest, and maybe all the way down into your belly. And once again, taking a deep, full breath. And again, exhale with the sound. And let yourself feel how this vocal expression coming from the depth of you and ripples through your entire body. When you feel ready, you may open your eyes and just for a moment become more aware of your surrounding space. Yeah, look around your room where you are. Look at the objects there. You feel safe in this environment. Yeah, we call this orienting in trauma work. It supports us to engage our vagus nerve complex, to feel like we can socially engage and be present and safe in our environment. Yeah, so we're gonna wrap it up here. If anybody wants to share anything, say a few words about your experience or anything that came up for you, or maybe you can put it in the chat. It would be cool to hear. Um, if any of you are interested in exploring biodynamic breathwork more, every Sunday we have a free online session, and you can sign up on our website, biodynamicbreath.com. I'm gonna put it in the chat, and find out more about our training and just participating in courses or trainings or just taking a free class, and that happens every Sunday. This Sunday I will teach, and then other Sundays it's going to be other facilitators. All right. It's been a pleasure to connect with you. Those of you who will watch a recording, it's a pleasure to support you in the way that I love most.
Thank you so much, Giten. Yeah, I can basically just read the chat and feel like exactly what's written there. It's been such first of all, a great conversation, I think. I really took a lot from it, but then also these last 25, 30 minutes have been really amazing and grounding. And while people send a couple more messages in the chat, I'm just quickly going to share that it worked perfectly for me in regards to, as the festival director, I was like at the beginning very much still in my head and trying to, everything needs to work and we need to make sure the IT is set up and everybody is happy. And now I just feel like, okay, I feel really back in my body. I feel like really trusting the process. I feel like we are completely doing the right thing here, and it's absolutely perfect the way it is. So just thank you so much for doing this. And I just want to state a couple of things in the chat. That was calming, feeling super present. I felt such a connection to my body and how I have everything I need right with me. It was soft and deep. It was beautiful. I feel so relaxed, ready for a good night's sleep. So many great experiences. Again, thank you so much, Giten, for being here with us today and sharing your gift.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you for organizing this and bringing the work to the world. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And thank you, everybody, for listening in. We've got 15 minutes of a break now, and then if you hop back into the main room, there will be the screen shared again with the next sessions running. But yeah, if you need anything, let us know. If you want to reach out to us, so obviously Giten put his website in the chat, and we will also share that for those watching the recording, obviously on the platform, so people can also reach out afterwards. And yeah, again, thank you so much for a beautiful, beautiful session. Thank you for being here, everyone. And
thank you, everyone.
have a lovely rest of the day. See you soon.